Hello and welcome to Chapter 11. We hear from Brandon. I don't believe in love at first sight, but I believe in hate at first sight 100%, thanks to Jett. The day he arrived, I saw him in the dining hall. He must have been starving because he took a humongous bite out of one of the meatless burgers, gagged on it, and spit it halfway across the room. It missed me by a quarter of an inch. A couple of days later, he tried to kill me on the pedal boats. Then there's the time I was biking with Ivory and two delivery guys unloaded a Dance Dance Revolution machine right in front of me, making me wipe out. Guess who ordered it? Jett. The worst part is we didn't even get to keep the machine because it turns out he wasn't allowed to buy it in the first place. Thanks a lot, Jett. Rich people think they can do anything they want. Not that I've got anything against rich people. I used to think my family was sort of rich until I met Jett. If I had his money, I'd throw my money away. Dad played 5 seasons in the NFL, but how do you compete with the guy who invented Fuego? Practically the whole world would have to shut down if there was no Fuego. Just about the only place that doesn't need it is the Oasis because of the no technology rule. They're actually pretty proud of that here. I don't love it, but I'm stuck with it. A lot of football players have trouble with their aggressive instincts after they retire. According to Dad, he never could have gone from nose tackle to car dealer without Ivory as his mentor. Plus, my father credits the Oasis food with keeping him in shape. In my opinion, that's because there's no food in it, but I'll never say that in front of him. Ivory hasn't calmed him down that much. This place was easier to take before Jerk Baranov got here. I know it sounds like I hate Jett because he's rich. That's not it at all. The reason I hate him is because he's so hateable. Armando says Jett and I have a lot in common because we both don't like the Oasis. He's missing the point. I don't like the food here, but I eat it. I don't enjoy meditation, but I put up with it. I don't sit here whistling so everybody thinks there's a gas leak. I'm not in love with awakening, but I do it. I don't sleep through the whole thing like Jett does if Matt isn't there prodding at him. That's another thing, Matt. At first I thought he was an uncle or a big brother. No, he's an employee. Jett's such a loser that he needs an extra guy whose whole job is it to make sure his life is smooth and happy. Who gets that? Not me, that's for sure. And Jett's so ungrateful that he doesn't even appreciate it. He spends most of his time bickering with Matt and making him go down the zip line just to watch him barf at the bottom. I've seen that a couple of times. It's actually pretty funny, but it isn't, you know? I may not be the best guy in the world at following rules, but Jett acts like the rules don't even apply to him. One day I see him out by the bath, tossing what looks like a wadded up piece of paper over his shoulder. Is he littering? Nobody litters at the Oasis. This place is super environmental friendly. Not that I care all that much, but I do care because of who's doing the littering, so I rush over there and pick it up. It's a candy bar wrapper, a Snickers, which happens to be my favorite. But there's no candy at the Oasis. No way, no how. Around here, sugar is like public enemy number 1. Just nope. How did Jett get his mitts on a candy bar? I catch up to him and spin him around by the shoulders. It's true. He still has a piece of the bar in his hand, and he's chewing. I can smell caramel. I think he says, "What's your problem?" but I can't be sure because his mouth is full. "Where'd you get that Snickers?" I demand, glaring down at him. He pops the last piece into his mouth, chews, swallows, and has the nerve to demand, "What Snickers?" I unfold the wrapper and hold it an inch away from his face. The one that came from this. He looks me right in the eye. I never saw that before in my life. The urge to punch him is almost irresistible. "You've got a secret stash somewhere. Is Matt buying it for you?" You're out of your mind. Come to think of it, Matt wouldn't have access to candy either. The whole Magnus philosophy is that you give yourself to the Oasis 100%. Once you're here until checkout day. Kids and adults too. Not even the Pathfinders leave, except for Ivory on her bike, and she's not the type to get bribed by a 12-year-old. On the other hand, Jett is the son of one of the wealthiest, most powerful people on Earth. If he can summon up jet skis, hovercraft, Dance Dance Revolution machines, maybe he has some secret source who can get him anything else he wants. Even a Snickers bar smuggled into the no-food zone. So I make up my mind that this little rat isn't going anywhere without me right on his 6. Don't get me wrong, I'm not working for Magnus helping to keep the Oasis chocolate free. But if Jett has a way to get his greedy paws on candy bars, then I'm getting my fair share. I get my chance later that very same day. Janelle is stretching the net across the pool for a game of water volleyball when I catch a hint of movement from the woods. There goes Jett, slinking along just inside the cover of the trees. Wimp. He's too chicken to face me in the water because he knows I'll spike the ball right down his throat. But there's something about his body language. He's just not walking. He's moving with purpose. And the fact that he's keeping out of sight means he doesn't want anyone to know where he's going. Like, for example, to his secret candy stash. I leap out of the pool, throw my t-shirt on over my soaking wet skin, scuff into sneakers, and take off after him. "Where you going, man?" Armando protests. "Be right back," I toss over my shoulder. It's kind of a jerk move since I'm the best water volleyball player at the Oasis, not to mention the best at every other sport. That's something even Baranov can't match. I'm the only one who's the son of a professional athlete. I hustle after Jett and slow to a walk, matching his pace, staying about 30 yards behind him. I keep expecting him to cut deeper into the woods, but he never does. Instead, he crosses the entire property, heading towards the main road. My mind is whirling with wild theories. He's meeting his candy supplier. He'll flag down a Hershey's truck and trade a wad of cash for a wheelbarrow piled high with chocolate bars. Just the thought of getting in on all that makes my mouth water. It was tofu day at lunch. Enough said. But instead of heading out to the road to meet his connection, he emerges from the woods into a cluster of small maintenance buildings just beyond the main welcome center. I duck behind a bush and watch as he goes to the oldest, most broken down unit, an ancient shed with peeling paint. There's a padlock on the door, but it must be broken because it comes apart when he touches it. He disappears inside, sliding the door closed behind him. I emerge from my hiding place and stand outside the shed for a moment. I can practically feel the heat radiating from it. It has to be the worst place on earth to store candy bars. Everything would be half melted after 30 seconds in there. But if it isn't his candy stash, what's going on in there? I throw open the door and barge in. "You're busted, mister." If I expect Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, I'm way off. Jett is crouched over a water-filled paint tray, feeding bits of raw hamburger to some kind of lizard. Startled, he straightens up and the meat falls from his hand. It never makes it to the water. The lizard snaps it out of the air, wolfs it down, and looks for more. If Jett's scared, he deserves an Academy Award for the way he covers it up. He says, "Brandon, meet Needles." "Needles?" This is Brandon. "But where's the candy?" I blurt. I know how stupid that sounds, but it's hard to get my brain to accept the evidence of my eyes. "You flunked science, didn't you?" "I know the difference between a candy bar and a lizard," I rage. "Like the lizard doesn't have a nougat?" he agrees. "Did you get your daddy to bribe Magnus to let you to bring your little pet here?" He snorts a laugh. "If this was my pet from home, do you think he'd be living in a paint tray?" Good point. Jerk Baranov's lizard would at least be set up in a condominium with a hot tub and his own masseuse. "I get it," I say slowly. "You found some random reptile and adopted him. I'm right, aren't I?" I step forward and reach out a finger to tickle the little guy under his chin. The lizard chomps down on my finger with stunning force. "Yow!" I howl in agony. I try to snatch my hand back, but the lizard comes with it. That's how firmly his jaws are clamped on my finger. Jett grabs the lizard by the hand and tries to pry its mouth open. "Bad Needles," he scolds. "Hurry up," I bellow. "It really hurts." The door is hurled open and in runs Grace Atwater, her face white with shock. "What? This thing's trying to kill me." She joins the tug of war on my finger, and between the two of them, they manage to get the jaws apart. I whip my hand away and grab Jett by the front of his shirt. "Excuse me." That's when I see that my finger is covered in blood. My anger disappears in a wave of queasiness. I have to sit down on the floor and keep my head at knee level so I won't pass out. It's a trick I picked up from Dad. In his NFL days, he learned that if you took a really big hit, that's how you made sure you didn't faint. I wrap the damn fabric of my t-shirt around my finger and squeeze tightly. "I've got to go to the healthfulness center. Get me to Nurse Laurel." "You're fine." Grace is setting that monster back in the paint tray. "Fine, I could have rabies." "Only mammals get rabies," she informs me. "Does Needles look like a mammal to you?" "You know, Grace," Jett says seriously, "he nipped us before, but it never broke the skin." I examine my finger. The worst of the bleeding is over, but it's still oozing from at least 20 tiny punctures. I have to put my head down again. "Lucky me," I groan. "Why do I get the honor of being first blood?" "Don't you guys get it?" Grace crows. "Our little Needles is growing up. Maybe his body isn't much bigger, but his teeth are maturing." "Is that all you can say? What kind of psycho lizard is he? Besides the evil kind, I mean. Seriously, though, I've got a neighbor who has a bearded dragon. It nips from time to time, but nothing like this thing tried to do to me." "We don't know," Jett admits. "We Google him, but no internet." I see his point. Ask one of the Pathfinders. Even though she doesn't say a word, Grace's face turns bright red. It tells me what I should have realized the first minute I walked into the shed. I got you. Pets are a no-no. Please don't tell anybody, Grace pleads. I beam at her. I don't know. Keeping secrets, breaking rules, lying to pathfinders. It doesn't sound very whole to me. When I walk into that meditation center, I don't want an illegal lizard on my conscience. Think of poor Needles, Grace persists. He's too little to survive on his own out there. I hold up my throbbing finger. With those teeth, he could bring down a rhino. She's about to launch into full begging mode when Jett cuts her off. Will you keep your mouth shut for a Snickers? I jump on this. I knew it. You have a candy connection. Who is it? He shrugs. What do you care, so long as you get what you want? I change my strategy. One candy bar isn't going to do the job, you know. I've got a really big sweet tooth. I'm going to need a steady supply. Let's say 2 bars a day? Grace is even more upset. There's no candy at the oasis. It's against the rules. So are pet lizards, I remind her. 3 bars a day. Want to try for 4? 3 bars a day, Jett says quickly. It's a deal. I'll need some time to make it happen, though. Don't take too long, I warn him. When my mouth isn't eating candy, it does other things like talking about what I saw, in a certain storage shed. With that, I turn my back and walk out of there. And I thought this was going to be a lousy day. It just goes to show you how wrong a guy can be.